Hi everyone, my name's Anne Marie. Welcome to this Anna Griffin card making project. So today we were going to make an Easter card, and I say we were, but I changed my mind. As I was creating it, I thought, oh no, this is going to make a great Mother's Day card. So I'm going to show you what I did as I went along, and then when I got to change my mind, basically. We're also going to do some paper folding in it, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So let's make a card. Everything I used to make this card, as always, the rest of the projects, I will put a detailed list on my blog. Please be sure to check it out, because everything I use will be on there. If you've ever got any questions or anything to say, please feel free to comment on Facebook or on my blog. If you comment on YouTube, I can't reply to you, so my replies disappear. So I've been trying to reply to some, and they just kind of blow off in the wind, really. I don't know where they go to cyberspace somewhere. So my replies are there for maybe like a few hours, then next time I look, they've gone. So don't be thinking I'm being rude on YouTube if I don't get back to you. I read them all, I publish them all, as long as they're not rude. And so if you do have anything to say, just, send me a message, an email on Facebook, because I do love hearing from you. Okay, so let's make a card. The card base I'm using, surprise, surprise, is a 7x5" card. Now, this is an ivory card, and we're going to use our bone folder to make sure we've got a nice sharp edge along the top. So this is a bone folder from the Anna Griffin tool collection, and I would be totally lost without mine. So now we've got a sharp edge. Why do we need that sharp edge, I hear you ask? Because when these are made in the factory and they're just folded over, they're not nice and neat. And sometimes when you get them, if you don't use your bone folder or something sharp or just the edge of a ruler or something to make sure it's a nice clean fold, you might get the little lines like a broken spine. So it just looks a little bit more professional, I think. Now, before I also forget, use your handmade stamps on the back of your cards. I date mine only because that's the date that the projects, this is sort of like today. So that's the date of the project. Add your name, and then the recipient knows who's made it for them. If you add the date, they'll know when you've made it. So in time to come, if it's still sat on their mantelpiece in 3 years' time, A, you know you've made a great card, and B, they know when you did make it, and they can remember it. So the first thing we're going to do is the inside. Now the inside actually is all done. I've used the Anna Griffin 3D embossing folder called Floral Window, and it's from the Ornamental 3D embossing folder collection. Now I've used my old trick of embossing it, inking it, and then taking it back through flat plates just between two pieces of card to flatten it down. I've got to say it took a little bit of flattening, did this, so I had to run it through a couple of times. Once it was flat, I've stamped the word Mother, and that was from the Treasury stamps, the original set with all the relatives stamps in. If you remember, there's mother, grandmother, grandfather, etc. So that's where I took the word Mother. I've also got to add, I created the insert. Well, I created the insert before I changed my mind. I just hadn't stamped it. And so it was like I stamped this last because I changed my mind on the beginning. I don't often. I'm normally quite like, I know what I'm going to do. I get a vision in my head. But for some reason, this, I completely changed it. But I think that's good because it shows to you that you can think, oh yeah, I'm going to make that. I'm going to make it a birthday card. Oh, do you know what? I think I'll make it a Father's Day card instead. So it just goes to show that you can change your mind halfway through. So I stamped Mother last, inked it around the edge and then flattened it again. So you can see that it does look as though it's raised, but it's actually flat, and there's enough room for you to write in the centre, and it's flat enough. So I really like the style of embossing and then flattening it, because it does pick up the pattern. So I had flat tape on the back of it, and I'm just adding that to the inside of the card. So you can now see that you've got lots of room for your messages to your mum, and you know, she's going to love this card. Now we can go to the outside of our card. I'm using my bone folder again, just to make sure that that crease is nice and sharp still. Now for the base of the card, I've used the Spring Plaid cardstock from Anna. I've taken one of the pieces, I've cut it down to 7x5, and I've also taken the centre out of it to be frugal, because I want to save as much as my cardstock as I possibly can for other projects. I don't want to waste it. Sometimes when we cover all the layers up, it is a waste, and I can honestly say I don't do it on every project, and I should do. I should be as frugal as I can, but sometimes it's just not that possible. So, but on this one we're being frugal. So I'm adding this layer to the outside of the card, and hopefully that will act as my base layer. Don't worry about taking one layer out the centre, because if you're covering it over you'll never know. It's when you start taking 2 or 3 layers then you might start having a dip. So my next layer is the 3D, using the 3D Ornamental embossing folder, and this is where I change my mind. So I've used Anna's metallic cardstock in the 7x5 layers. I've embossed it, and what happened was I embossed it to start with using the seasonal Easter and Love stamps. I heat embossed it, and I used a wine coloured embossing powder. Got to be honest, it's not one of Anna's, but I'm sure you will have lots in your stash that are. So I did that, and then I thought, oh, you know what, I might be changing my mind here. So then I did change my mind, and I made the same emboss layer, but I stamped it with Mother, and that's the one we're going to use. So I've got flat tape on the back of it, and I'm just going to peel the back of it away, and then I'm going to position it just through the centre of our card, like so. There we go, press it down, and you can see all that gorgeous deep embossing. Beautiful. Next, this is where our paper folding comes in, because we're going to make 4 paper folded, I don't know whether you call them fans, they're more like a palm leaf, nearly. I'm sure there's a name for them. So we're going to make 4 of those, and what happened was I took the Spring Plaid cardstock, and out of the squares that are in it I cut a square, and then I embossed it through the Paper Tricks 2 chevron and fan fold embossing folder. I embossed it on an angle like that, so that corner to corner was a straight line, and you can see the lines that there are now on there. And then if I take that away, and then I start by folding it through the centre, and then I mountain valley fold it all the way along like so, and turn it round and do the other side again, mountain valley fold like that. There we go, until it looks like that, and then I squeezed one side together like so, oops, like that, and I used red tape, wound it round, and that holds it. Now you could use wet glue or whatever you've got, as long as you hold it together so it sticks, and then you create the shape. Quite simple really when you know, but it's just something a little bit different. So I created 4 of those, and I've got flat tape on the back of them, and I'm going to add them just kind of in all 4 corners, just at the side of the flower. And as I said, there's 4 of them. They don't have to be perfect, so don't be thinking, oh, I'll never be able to do that because it's too fiddly or they have to be right. They don't have to be right. It's your masterpiece. It's what you want to create. So we've added 4. Press them down. Now for our next layer, we've got 2 layers in one really. We've got our cutout layer, so I've embossed the same pattern again and I've cut out the centre. Now I think if you follow me on Instagram you might have seen the picture for this, or actually I might have shared it on Facebook as well, where I was cutting this, and I used my craft knife, my trusty craft knife. However, I finished it off with the scissors because I didn't do a great job. Now a lady commented, she said, oh, I'd never be able to use a craft knife for that. Well, you don't have to, use your scissors. It's just I tend to start off doing something like this with my craft knife. If I don't feel I can do it right, I'll just go back to the scissors. So it's just up to you, it's what you prefer. It doesn't matter whether you use big scissors, little scissors, whatever you're comfortable with. So that's our first, well, I'm saying our first layer, it's not. But that's one of our layers. Now our second layer is slightly smaller because, as you can see, that's got an aperture in it. And I wanted another aperture. Now I've had to use a die for the centre circle, centre oval. It's not one of Anna's, it's just a nesting oval set. You could use any nesting oval set. I'm not even going to name them because there's so many different ovals in the smaller ones. I've cut the metallic pink layer to fit behind the ivory. I've added a couple of gems along the edge and then 2 dots at either side of tonic jewel dots, just to give it something a little bit extra. Now I'm going to position these 2 together before I put them on the card, and I'm going to just tilt it towards me to be able to see, because I'll show you for why. Underneath, oops, I can't even do it facing me. So underneath we've got layers of 3D foam because of the paper folding. Now you can see the foam, there's 3 layers there because of the height of our folded paper corners. Now this is now going to go over the centre where we've stamped the word mother, and it's going to sit over our folded corners. You see how that just sits right there? There we go. Now that in itself looks really nice, but I think it needs a few flowers. So what I've done is I've taken some of the flowers from the quotes and flowers, the stickers in the actual set. And these are the smaller flowers, and I think they're really pretty. And all I'm doing is peeling the back of them away and adding them to our embossed layer. Now if you want, what you can do, because it's embossed and it's got quite a bit of depth to it, you can add a touch of glue just to hold your stickers in place. So I'm going to add that one roughly about there, so it goes round the edge. And then I'm going to add this one just underneath it, like that. And then I've got Actually, we'll swap those two over. We'll add the roses to one side, and then we'll add that flower there and the extra rose to the other side. So I've got 4 floral stickers, and add those like that around our embossed border. So it's picking up the layers. Now I've also taken one of the little butterflies and I'm going to add that just to, where should we pop that? Just to the side there, like so. And I'm going to finish it off with a trusty bow, because I do like finishing things off with a bow. I'm going to try not to on a couple of projects, but I just think that works. Now that is such a pretty card. You could add any sentiment through the centre, and you've got enough room to write a really nice long message to Mum. Stands up nicely. You've got quite a bit of depth on there because of the depth of the paper folding, but it's so worth it. What a pretty card, and I love those colours. And I think the paper folded corners just give it that wow factor even more. So check the blog for everything that I've used. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I give you ideas and inspiration, because that's what it's all about. A different way to use your products, or maybe getting more out of them than you first thought. And I love making the videos. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.